Look out, you're going to get hit. I was screaming on the top of my lungs as a red 10,000-pound monster truck was heading in my wife's direction, full speed. The driver was honking desperately, yet she didn't even flinch. She walked slowly, not looking to the left or the right, while being a split second away from what looked like an imminent death. "Nana, Nana," little Alice hollered. Sadly, her Nana literally could not hear us. Seconds afterward, we witnessed the most horrifying scene. With a screeching of brakes, the truck threw her to the pavement and then crashed into a tree. To this day, it pains me to even think about what happened next, and I'll never forgive myself for not being able to rescue my wife. But it was that precise moment that sent me on a completely unexpected 2-year-long journey through the dark underbelly of the multi-billion-dollar hearing loss industry controlled by big pharma moguls and reckless medical devices manufacturers, and eventually led me to the discovery of a completely natural and inexpensive method that can make it possible for you to hear everything at full volume again while protecting yourself from tinnitus, brain fog, and even memory loss. Despite what you've been led to believe, the root cause of hearing loss has nothing to do with your age or how damaged your ears are. Instead, as groundbreaking experiments have proved, the root cause of hearing loss has everything to do with something deeply peculiar and dangerous that's happening inside your brain cells at this very moment. Now, a hint is that you don't actually hear with your ears. Once you'll discover what it is, not only will you have the power to fix the mute button inside your ear canal, but you'll also be able to keep other hearing impairments at bay. In the next 5 minutes, you'll find out why more and more Americans suffer from hearing loss even though there's nothing physically wrong with their ears. How your untreated hearing loss may in fact be responsible for literally erasing your memories. How Chicago scientists uncovered a whole new part of the ear that changes everything within the medical community about restoring your hearing. How coming across a classified banned document from a medical lab helped me uncover one of the biggest scams in Big Pharma's history. And the clinically proven, simple, 10-second exotic method that you can use starting today to enjoy every sound at maximum volume once again. Along with all the papers, tests, and experiments from universities like Harvard and the Chicago College of Medicine that proves how it works. This solution is so incredibly powerful that it has been clinically proven to work regardless of your age, medical condition, or the severity of your hearing problems. And without you having to spend a single red cent on aids, harmful chemical-filled medications, painful ear flushing, or risky surgeries. But it's absolutely crucial that you stick with me until the very end of my story while you still have the chance, because I don't know how much longer I'll be able to keep this presentation online. The hearing aids industry alone is worth $8 billion in the US, and these people are perfectly happy to shatter your physical and mental health, trying to make you think that their crazy devices are the only way, especially when doing so makes them obscenely rich. It's only logical they're scared that my dirt cheap method will put them out of business overnight. They don't want you to hear loud and clear what they're up to. They need to keep you a customer for life. So please stay on this page, because this information could save your life or the life of your loved one. You're just one step away from feeling like a normal person again. Now, just imagine never feeling frustrated and disconnected because you can't hear your loved ones over the telephone, or being completely dependent on annoying, overpriced hearing aids that constantly seem to break. No longer having to figure out what your colleagues are saying, or feeling stupid for asking "what" all the time. never having to pretend you're focused and serene when you're actually struggling to read your boss's lips, fearing that you're going to get fired for making an unintended mistake. Instead, you'll secure your job and regain your social life, finally being able to go out with your friends and family and carry on long, enjoyable conversations. You'll say goodbye to isolation and hello to your favorite music and hobbies, fully relaxing at your beloved movies, TV shows, or matches. Now, I know how amazing it sounds, especially if you've been suffering in silence, thinking that there's no escape whatsoever. Well, let's not waste any more time. It's time for you to break free from the hearing loss prison. My name is Sam Olson. I'm 65 years old, and I live in a small town near Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, together with my dear wife, Daisy. Now, I want you to know right from the beginning that I'm not a doctor, nor am I a hearing aid specialist. I recently retired after a 40-year career as a medicinal chemist. Well, it's a crucial job as people who are sick rely on us for relief. Medicinal chemists work in teams with scientists to research and develop compounds that can be used as pharmaceutical treatments. Our greatest accomplishments are creating new formulas that can actually treat illnesses. If we succeed in finding a way to make manufacturing processes less expensive and thus treatments more accessible, then we consider that we have done a pretty good job. Well, back in the days when big pharma fat cats weren't so desperate to stuff their greedy pockets, I've witnessed a few medical breakthroughs and seen life-changing treatments take birth. Of course, none of them compares to the hearing loss remedy that I'm about to reveal to you. Now, it all started about 3 years ago when my wife Daisy began losing her hearing. First, it was her left ear, then it was her right ear that followed. Well, Daisy had been a music teacher pretty much all of her life, and her greatest joy was directing musicals at the local elementary school. You know, being surrounded by kids, singing along with them, seeing the pride in their parents' eyes, well, it made her feel so important. You can imagine how devastated she was when she realized that the easiest, most natural thing in the world for her now became the hardest. Rehearsing a song got tougher than climbing a mountain. She couldn't make out what they were singing, had to ask, please repeat all the time, until her pupils were basically screaming. It was pretty much the same at home. Then one day she refused to go to school. And then for the first time in the 37 years since I've known her, she didn't turn on the radio in the morning, nor did she sway around on her favorite piano songs while making breakfast. She just sat in the garden, staring blankly at the trees. Well, there was something else that worried me even more. Her memory was clearly slipping. One time she barely remembered who Beethoven was, for gosh sakes. Plus, she was always dizzy and tired. Well, I was terrified for her. Of course, we'd gone to the doctor. We went to the best doctor. We waited 2 whole months to see him. It took him 10 minutes to examine her and prescribe her hearing aids. Clunky, ugly pieces of wannabe skin color machinery shoved into both of her ears, worth no less than $4,000. All I wanted was to know why. Why was this alienating disease happening to her? Because here's the weird thing. After the consultation, that doctor told us that nothing was physically wrong with her ears. Sometimes these things just happen, especially with age, he said. And he shrugged his shoulders. And that was that. No other explanations. I think I hated him a little bit that day. Now, even though she could hear better, Daisy never got used to the hearing aids. Her ears were sore, she felt really old, and she was embarrassed to be seen by her friends. Finally, she decided to retire and refused any invitation to dinner parties or bridge night. In the meantime, I spent our holiday money and then money we didn't even have on advanced high-tech hearing aids, $6,000 each. There were pills, herbal drops, acupuncture sessions, and whatnot. I tried everything to make Daisy feel better. Amplified phones, TV listening devices. It was no use. But the worst was yet to come. Once in a while, Daisy and I used to babysit our 5-year-old granddaughter, Alice. Now, she's our little ray of sunshine, and we often joke with our daughter, Sarah, that we might just love the kid more than we love her. Well, one Thursday, our granddaughter asked us for ice cream, and since I was busy mowing the front lawn, Daisy decided to go to the market a few streets away. Well, 5 minutes later, she was lying on the pavement, blood running down from her forehead. Her leg was twisted up in an unusual fashion. Now, she never heard or saw that monster truck coming. Since she had a terrible rash, Daisy had removed her hearing aids that day. I could have screamed for hours, and our granddaughter, well, she could have cried for days. Daisy was almost deaf. Luckily for us, the driver had decided on the spur of the moment to take an abrupt left turn, passing right beside her before crashing into a tree a few miles later. Then with a car that big, at that speed, even a small bump can mean a catastrophe for a human body. Well, long, horrendous minutes passed until the ambulance arrived. I can only imagine what Daisy felt, barely conscious, not able to understand what was happening to her. And after examining her, the doctor told us that she had a broken leg and a concussion. Also, she needed a lot of stitches, but overall, she would make a full recovery. However, on the other hand, the driver of the monster truck was in a coma. His wife and his 2 small boys were devastated. The doctors could not predict when, if ever, he would wake up. Now, it was a real nightmare. Our little Alice, well, she was in shock. She kept shivering and couldn't speak. In fact, I don't think she even spoke at all for almost 2 months after the accident. Dad, how could you leave Mom alone on the street? She's not right. Are you blind? Well, my daughter was furious with me. Frankly, I was furious with myself. I wondered if my wife would ever be the same again, if the driver would survive. All I could do was pray for a miracle that would make everything all right again. When Daisy finally woke up from the sedatives, she started crying her heart out, convinced that everything was her fault. Maybe you should put me in a home, my wife murmured, bitter tears running down her cheeks. Her words tore my soul apart. I'm no use to anyone. It's getting harder and harder for me to get around. Never. We're going to get through this together, I told her, and I meant it. That night I stood by her bed, looking at her while she slept, dreading the thought she could have been dead if the driver hadn't taken that abrupt turn, worrying about what might have happened if she could never get back on her feet. Her mental health getting worse, her hearing deteriorating while she became a shadow of herself. I had to do something. I sure wasn't going to stand back and watch how our family was falling apart. So, first thing in the morning, I got in front of the computer and started my quest. I was determined to find a solution that didn't require any device or surgery because I knew for sure they drained the life out of you, hurting your ears with no guarantee that you won't go completely deaf eventually. There was one question in particular that kept haunting me. Why are there people with perfectly good ears that don't hear well? Because even though ears get a bad reputation, there are a lot of people who, just like my wife, suffer from hearing loss even though nothing is physically wrong with them. So I went on analyzing hundreds of articles and studies, searching for the real root cause of hearing loss. Now I'll spare you all the boring details and cut directly to the interesting parts. You see, your ear is made of three parts: external, middle, and the inner ear. The part that should be responsible for your hearing is the inner ear. That's where you have over 15,000 tiny little cells called hair cells. They're named like this because they look exactly like little hair strands. These little receptors grab noises from your environment and turn them into electrical signals. Now, many scientists believe that hearing loss happens when these little hair cells start dying. The fewer cells you have to capture the sounds around you, the less you hear. What scientists hadn't figured out was why these cells die in the first place. And that's where the medical community kind of shrugs its shoulders, officially agreeing on this dead-end theory and leaving things unresolved for decades. What few people know is that in 2012 and 2018, two groups of people that were researchers dared to venture further on their own. The first group of explorers came from the University of Illinois at Chicago College of Medicine. These Chicago scientists uncovered a whole new part of the ear that holds the key to hearing restoration. Their breakthrough study showed that the hair cells of the inner ear have a previously unknown root extension that allows them to communicate with the brain to regulate sensitivity to sound vibrations. Well, this meant that hearing loss went way deeper than ears and hair cells. It was actually rooted in the brain. The other group of scientists were part of the Karolinska Institute, Sweden. They're one of a study kind, shed even more light on the matter. This 2018 discovery revealed a new type of neurons or brain cells that were responsible for decoding that sound. These brain cells, previously unknown, received the name of cochlear neurons, and for good reason, because, get this, they were located inside the ears, taking over the sounds and transmitting them to the brain. It's like the brain had sent special messengers inside your ears. Researchers said, well, we now know that there are 3 different routes into the central auditory system instead of just one. And the new ones are related to the brain. In other words, we don't hear with our ears, we hear with our brains. More specifically, with our brain cells. This can explain why people with perfectly healthy ears are unable to make out conversations. They can't turn signals into words. Maybe our hair cells don't really die. Maybe instead they might have lost the connection to the brain. In other words, the hair cells' roots, the receivers and regulators of the sound, have lost the connection with the brain cells, the cochlear neurons, or the senders of the sound. This can also be the explanation to why so many people suffering from hearing loss also suffer from brain fog, memory loss, anxiety, depression, fatigue, vertigo, They're dealing with a miscommunication between brain cells. The signals never reach their end destination where they should be processed into sounds. In fact, a brain experiment ran by Harvard University proved that brain training games improve hearing. Researchers asked 24 elderly adults who used hearing aids to spend 3.5 hours a week playing games like puzzles accompanied by sounds designed to help improve their ability to follow conversations. Well, at the end of the study, participants correctly identified 25% more words in spoken sentences. After getting through all those mind-blowing discoveries, I became obsessed. If brain cells were the ones responsible for the decoding and transmitting the auditory signals in the first place, while the hair cells had dedicated roots to regulate sound vibrations and communicate with those brain cells, shouldn't we focus on how the brain and ears work together? Shouldn't all treatments focus on filling this communication gap? The next day I went to the only people I thought that could help me, my ex-colleagues from the lab. Oh, I ran there full of hope, holding a file full of medical papers and plans close to my chest. My heart was racing with excitement. I was convinced the lab would help me develop a new med that would save thousands of lives. All of my ex-team, medical chemists, scientists, and engineers, were stunned with my research, and they were eager to work day and night on my project. But our party was cut short by Mr. E, the lab director, who called me into his office. I began telling him about my idea. We needed to address both brain cells and hair cell roots, therefore activating the sender and the receiver of the sounds at the same time for a clear connection in hearing, right? But it was like talking to a wall. He told me that if what I was saying was possible, surely big pharmaceutical companies and their experts, way more experienced than I, would have done it already. Listen, why don't you just enjoy retirement? Go fish, whatever, just relax. And with those last condescending suggestions, Mr. E showed me the door. Back to work, all of you, he told the others, and no one dared to even look in my direction. Well, I was mad. How dare he? How would someone say no to the remedy of hearing loss? Something clearly was not right, but I just couldn't put my finger on it. There must have been a higher power up there, because a few days later, I received a phone call that made everything fall into place, because at the other end of the line was one of the biggest, most respected brain experts and an amazing medical chemist. Since protecting his identity is vital, and you're about to see why in a few seconds, we'll just call him Dr. J. Frankly, even at my age, with my experience, I was a little intimidated by Dr. J. Not only because his IQ was 157, which is just 3 points below Einstein's, but because being one of my ex-colleagues, I knew he was the mastermind between some of the best medicine on the market, medicine that helps with memory loss, balance problems, or depression. No wonder my jaw dropped the second that he told me, "I just quit my job. Let's meet. I think we can fix your problem." The very next day, we had lunch at a small restaurant in New Hope. As Dr. J was a man of few words, he got right to the point. "Sam, the first thing you got to understand is that when it comes to big pharma and their medical labs, treating symptoms always gets them more money than treating the root cause." Well, me going and showing them my precious research would never work where their blood money ruled. Even though my intentions were admirable, I needed to stop being so naive. The hearing loss industry controlled by Big Pharma was expected to reach $13.54 billion by 2026. A lot of money was coming their way, not to mention that the way he saw it, my discovery would not only address the root cause of hearing loss, but could also have an amazing effect on other hearing impairments like tinnitus, brain problems, confusion, memory loss. Why would they want one simple, powerful remedy on the market that does what a sack full of pharmaceutical products and hearing devices cannot do? Suddenly I understood why they're always announcing remedies for hearing loss or breakthroughs but never actually launch them. Why funds ran out without any explanation just when my medical team and I were close to something big. Why nobody dared to move a finger when the lab director ushered me out, even though I had just presented them two unquestionable studies. They would have never allowed me or anyone else to come even close to treating a serious disease. Just when I thought I'd heard enough, Dr. J had one more secret to tell me. A secret that could put him in jail. Treating innocent folks with chemical-filled meds was what kept their lab business going, and they had no intention in looking for better or cheaper solutions. The same rule that applied to the breakthroughs that addressed the cause also applied to the newly discovered ingredients. Whenever someone came in with a natural ingredient that proved to work for a serious disorder, they just banned it from further testing, claiming it was dangerous or homeopathic nonsense. So Dr. J did something really risky. Each time an ingredient was banned from the lab, he knew that was the precise one that could actually make a difference. So instead of deleting everything like he was ordered to do, he saved all the papers and experiments and spent long nights continuing the frowned upon work of other honest medical researchers. He analyzed rare herbs, common plants, and powerful roots, dumbfounded by how their properties crush the most acclaimed drugs during every test. Now, my ex-colleague was sick and tired of all the phony lab directors and fat cats. Since he had gone through all the wonder plants and no longer needed their expensive medical equipment at the lab, and since he believed all my data was spot on, he was ready to help me steal the list of banned ingredients for hearing loss and combine the best ones into the perfect combo that would quickly and flawlessly connect ear and brain cells. All of these extremely potent plants are side effect free and backed by tens of solid studies that the big pharma would rather see burned to ashes. Out of a list of 117, we selected 5 whose properties match both hair cells roots and brain cells. By now you must be very curious to find out what these ingredients are, so let's get right to it. Number 1, ginkgo biloba leaves, coming from female trees. Now, you've probably heard of ginkgo biloba before. The medical community has been obsessing over this hearing loss and tinnitus remedy, analyzing everything about it while supplement manufacturers are trying to sell it to you in all forms and sizes. It's also the most studied herb in the world, with over 400 clinical studies on its safety and efficacy for many conditions. All for good reason. Trees can achieve near immortality and live 3,000 years. Their DNA is fascinating, but there's one big catch. Not all ginkgo biloba trees are the same. Actually, ginkgos have been called a sexual curiosity. While some plants possess both male and female reproductive parts simultaneously, ginkgos do not. Individuals are either male or female. Now, the female trees are usually famous for their stinky seeds, but few know that the golden fan-shaped healing leaves that are making researchers' jaws hit the floor belong only to female trees. Now, there's a reason ancient medicine practitioners called it the maidenhair tree. They were looking for the feminine ginkgos. Finding a female tree is not particularly easy. First of all, it takes about 20 years for the tree to reach maturity and display its sexual characteristics. So you have to wait 2 decades before you know which one is which. Even then, ginkgo biloba can do something no other tree in the world does. They can change their sex through their long lifetime and turn from female to male. So you need a really good biologist to recognize one. Last but not least, the older a female tree is, the more forceful her regenerative properties are. It's only logical, nothing so good comes easy. The nutrients inside ginkgo biloba leaves work directly on your brain cells. A 2019 study published in the Brazilian Journal of Ear, Nose, and Throat compares ginkgo biloba with hearing aids for the treatment of hearing loss and tinnitus. Thus, it can be shown that treatment with ginkgo biloba was effective regardless of the patient's tinnitus duration and was more effective overall than the hearing aids. The 33 participants were separated into 2 groups: short-term hearing loss and tinnitus problems, and long-term. Amazingly enough, after 3 months of taking ginkgo, results for short-term hearing loss and tinnitus were 54.3% improvement. And for the longer-term results were 74.5% improvement. Basically, the ones who benefited most from the ginkgo treatment were the ones who suffered from a greater degree of hearing loss. The scientists' explanation? Their brain cells were more damaged, which meant ginkgo had more to repair. Another study done on 72 subjects suffering from sudden deafness and acute hearing loss proved that ginkgo supplements are effective, or even more effective, than common drug treatments. All men and women saw a substantial restoration of their hearing in just 10 days. Moreover, multiple Asian experiments showed that besides helping brain cells grow and regenerate, ginkgo also protects neurons and ear hair cells against the damaging oxidation stress that causes DNA damage, supports and powers neuronal transmission and connectivity, making sure the signals and sounds reach their destination, prevents memory loss, or slows the progression of cognitive decline or dementia in older adults. Unless you're lucky enough that this plant is growing in your backyard right now, frantic popularity has it overvalued and in short supply. Knowing it threatens their artificial pills, Big Pharma is buying up all the supplies of this plant, especially leaves coming from old female specimens, and pretending it's for research purposes. Because they buy so much and at such high prices, it's creating an artificial shortage. There's only a few farms that nurture these wonder trees under proper conditions and allow them to grow old. And they're getting rich right now from the pharma companies buying up all their crops. Between high demand and the fact that so few know the difference between female and male trees, it's almost impossible to find healing ginkgo biloba. You might find it in bottles in a health food store, but those supplies aren't pure or coming only from female trees, or they skimp on quality and quantity to make up for their investment. But don't worry, we'll show you how you can get it for less than pennies on the dollar. Now let's get to number 2, St. John's wort flower heads. Considered to be the Prozac from the plant kingdom, St. John's wort is used for ear infections and widely believed to reduce the degeneration of brain cells and boost their power. St. John's wort contains a plant chemical called hypericin, which scientists believe has a powerful effect on the brain. A 2004 Italian study reported that hyperforin can increase the levels of the brain chemicals serotonin, dopamine, and other neurotransmitters, which besides providing relief from depression, have a very important job: sending any signal from any part of your body, including ears and hair cells, to your brain. Many experts will claim St. John's wort is toxic and ban it from the remedies list, but only because they cannot sell it in big amounts and make good money off of it. The truth is, these flowers are extraordinary in the right small amounts, especially when combined with ginkgo. Number 3, Bocca Moneri leaves. Bocca Moneri, or the herb of grace, has been used in Ayurvedic medicine, one of the world's oldest healing systems, for over 2,000 years. It's considered an adaptogen, which means Bacopa can restore normal physiological functioning and upgrade brain cells communication while boosting signaling. Supplementing Bacopa moneri has been shown to improve the processing speed of brain cells, the attention, and the memory formation. Number 4, vinpocetine is known to protect the hearing function, clear middle ear infections, and improve cells' reaction to signals and audio signals. Here's why. Vinpocetine travels fast through the body and increases glucose consumption by brain cells, glucose being a vital source of energy. By increasing the levels of oxygenation of the brain cells and ear hair cells, vinpocetine protects them against death and degeneration, allowing them to thrive again. Vinpocetine works as a vasodilator to help improve cerebral blood flow, which irrigates and feeds both hair cells, roots, and brain cells. Number 5, Huperzine A, aerial plant. A 2019 study showed that Huperzine A can prevent hearing loss by protecting and repairing the physical damage of the cochlear tissue, the part of the inner ear that's vital for your hearing, as it contains hair cells. Also, Huperzine A is an important blocker of ACHE, an enzyme that causes the rapid degradation of the brain transmitter acetylcholine. In simple terms, Huperzine A protects the organic substance that's responsible for the messages released by nerve cells. After mixing the 5 superplants, for the final touch, we added 3 natural star substances to regenerate and supercharge brain cells for an indestructible brain-ear connection. Phosphatidylserine covers and protects every brain cell and hair cell and has been proven to be crucial for transmitting the messages between them. N-acetyl L-carnitine, or ALC, delivers powerful nutrients directly to the brain cells, clears the signal pathways of any harmful toxins, and prevents age-associated cognitive decline. L-glutamine is an essential brain transmitter that it increases focus and concentration, thus helping you make out sounds faster and better. Once we were done, we just couldn't believe our eyes. The formula was a work of art, but our enthusiasm was curbed by a new problem. If we were to produce it ourselves, we had to spend days trying to source the purest ingredients from all over the world and thousands of dollars to buy them. Then weeks to extract the leaves, seeds, and flowers. At the end, we had to dry them out, grind them down, and adjust the ratios. The result? We would have enough of the mixture to last for about a week or so. We needed a plan B. We thought that if we bought the ingredients in bulk and contacted a large, modern, yet discreet manufacturing facility in the USA, that could take care of everything. We could produce this potent mixture in the quantity we wanted in tiny, easy to swallow capsules. That's when we started our chase for manufacturing facilities. We had one non-negotiable request. The ingredients needed to be the real thing. Pure, sourced from local growers that let plants naturally reach their full maturity and use no herbicides. 100% effective, prepared the right way and in the right amounts in order to keep their properties intact. Safe, processed under strict sterile standards with regularly disinfected equipment. Now, you wouldn't believe how many counterfeits are on the market. I remember I jumped for joy when I found a facility that was both FDA registered and GMP certified that had a high level of disinfection policy to keep any germs or viruses at bay. Yes, including corona. Since the proprietary blend is 100% natural, I didn't have to wait for approval to make our first batch. All I needed was one more willing patient to test it. And our first patient was Daisy. All she had to do was take one vegetable capsule every day with a big glass of water. She was rather skeptical at first, and at that point, really tired of my scientific adventures. And who could blame her? After long, painful kinetotherapy sessions, her leg had healed, but her head still hurt from the accident. So she was certainly not in a great mood. But since she knew I invested every penny I had to produce the first batch of plant-filled capsules, she agreed to at least try it out. The first few days, nothing happened. She wasn't seeing anything special. She sighed and asked me whether I was going to help her search for a decent nursing home. So I had to beg her to continue. I showed her over and over again all my discoveries, asking her to take one more leap of faith. After a few more days, there was a glimpse of hope. I asked her whether she needed anything from the store, and she understood my question right away. Daisy wasn't impressed, though. She believed she had just gotten better at making out what people were saying. I, on the other hand, noticed something else. The sound on her TV wasn't as loud as before. Then something amazing happened. I was writing an email when she said, "Your computer is humming. Maybe you should fix it." Well, did she really hear the subtle noise coming from my laptop? Well, I barely noticed it. We didn't talk much about this episode because she didn't want to jinx it, but I could see her flinching now and then when our neighbor's dog was barking outside or birds were chirping at our window. After a couple of more days, Daisy began noticing even the softest sounds, the turning of a newspaper page, or my ugly corduroy pants that I should throw away. But it wasn't just that. Her vertigo and headaches were gone, and she could remember entire songs and playlists perfectly again. 16th of May is the day I'll never forget. We had just found out that Danny, the monster truck driver, had recovered from his coma. So I decided to surprise him and Daisy and take all of them to a piano concert in Philadelphia. Daisy cried big tears of joy and relief through the entire show. She could hear every single note clearly. After the night ended, we threw both hearing aids in the Schuylkill River. It was so liberating. We had broken the curse of hearing loss. You bet we wanted to get the formula into the hands of as many people as possible, but one person wasn't proof it worked. If it worked for us, would it work for everyone? We needed to test it on more people who suffered from hearing loss and brain fog or other hearing impairments like tinnitus. People whose brain cells were screaming at that very moment, help! They had to be dealing with hearing loss for at least 1 year. If they had tried all sorts of solutions with no success, even better. After posting ads online and in local newspapers, asking people who might be willing to test our one-of-a-kind formula, we had a total of 54 people ready to embark on our new experiment. The results were greater than our wildest dreams. Without exception, and within a few weeks, all 54 volunteers reported dramatic improvements. They could hear almost every sound at full volume again, rediscover the music they love so much, and give up their hearing aids or cancel their cochlear implant surgeries. A lot of them said their memory and focus was stronger than ever before, like their brain was recharged. Their bodies felt brand new too. Our subjects were experiencing bursts of energy and restful sleep. No anxiety or brain fog, no headaches. A few tinnitus sufferers even claimed that the loud ringing that was driving them insane was gone, which was the side effect that we were most proud of. We received email, messages, and phone calls. All of our volunteers were overwhelmed and kept asking for more of our plant-based wonder capsules. It was clear as daylight that we had a mission. So we created a clinically proven and natural supplement that will allow you to target the real cause of hearing loss, regenerate your brain cells, and supercharge your hair cells' roots in order to turn on the sound in your ears. We called it Sharpear, the only 100% natural blend that addresses the root cause of hearing loss, the ear-brain connection. Now, we've sourced the purest, highest quality 8 plant extracts and natural substances. For example, we use only properly prepared ginkgo biloba leaves coming from female trees grown in the mountain regions. This ginkgo biloba is allowed to grow in the wild for no less than 20 years before being collected. No chemicals of any sort ever touch it. In commerce, you will find only 5 to 7-year-old ginkgo biloba, often filled with herbicides, and you can't know for sure whether the leaves are coming from a female or male tree. Every capsule is manufactured in the USA and our FDA approved and GMP certified facility under sterile, strict, and precise standards. We are regularly disinfecting the equipment used to process the ingredients and package our supplements. Sharpear capsules are non-GMO and safe. They do not contain any dangerous stimulants or toxins, and they're not habit forming. And even though getting your hearing back with Sharpear is as easy as ABC, the formula is more powerful than any hearing aid or surgery on the planet. because it does not only help you hear everything loud and clear again, it also improves your health from head to toe without you having to lift a finger. 201,533 people have already transformed their lives and brains with Sharpear. People like Thomas Wallace, 60, from Springfield, Illinois, who wrote to us to say, I was just about to get cochlear implants when I came across your video. I was so afraid of it that I decided to try your method. Thank God I did. I haven't been so happy in years. To hear this well again is nothing short of a miracle. I can finally sit down with my family at the dinner table and listen to my nephew's funny stories and talk with my children. Thank you so much, Sam. Or Jack B., 57, from Buffalo, New York, who says, it was really depressing being that hard of hearing relative that annoys everyone at family gatherings because they ask, what did you say? All the time. I also had mild tinnitus in one ear. Horrible. Now I'm still pinching myself when I wake up in the morning and I hear the birds chirping. Also, can you believe the ringing in my ears is almost gone and my memory is better? And Doris S., 53, from Quincy, Massachusetts, who wrote, my husband was preparing to learn sign language. After years of struggling and hearing aids, he was almost deaf. When the doctor told him there was no hope, it was heartbreaking. We tried your method out of desperation, and it's been amazing ever since. I can't believe we are both listening to our favorite music, visiting friends, and chatting for hours again. Hope everyone finds out about this. Now, all you have to do in order to achieve the same dramatic improvements in your hearing and memory is to start using it as soon as possible. The solution is much simpler than you think, and you can get access to everything in the next 90 seconds. If you're ready to give up the burden of hearing loss and bring excitement, energy, and satisfaction back into your life, if you're ready to say yes to this big change, you first need to ask yourself, how much is it worth to you to be in full control of what you hear and when? No fears, no health risks, and all your friends and colleagues amazed at how quick-witted you are. Just take a second. Imagine how much that would be worth. $100,000, $10,000, $5,000. Even though Dr. J recommended I sell a 30-day supply of Sharpear for no less than $997, considering the 2 years of research, work, and tests that we've invested in it, and even though my dear Daisy suggested $597, considering how she got her life back and how she hears like a bat now, while our local herb growers would have asked for $397 just for the highest quality of the ingredients. And even though many of the 201,533 people who got to experience Sharpear said they would gladly pay triple. Well, this isn't about money for me. I'll never forget what I felt when I saw my wife being hit by a car. The blood, little Alice's screams, the tears in my daughter's eye. Nor will I forget how I felt when I found out that truck driver was in a coma. And I'm sure that the moment when Daisy asked me to put her in a home will be burned into my memory forever. I never want anyone to feel as helpless as I did. That's why I'll never ask for $597 or $397 or even half that. I just want to cover the costs of the ingredients and keep this site running for as long as I can. Even though I'll have to charge $99 for one bottle of Sharpear soon, which is still way less than those annoying hearing aids, and certainly a lot less than a cochlear implant. The fact that you gave me your trust and stayed with me all through this presentation means a lot. you can get a 30-day supply of Sharpear for a one-time fee of just $69. That's right, just $69. Now, before you order, one last thing. After thoroughly researching all the ingredients of Sharpear and running a lot of tests, I recommend you take the supplement for at least 90 days. On one hand, it's about giving your brain and body enough time to process and take full advantage of all the plant extracts and rediscover every single sound around you. On the other hand, Sharpear is selling incredibly fast, and once it will be sold out, it'll take us at least 6 to 9 months to produce a new batch. Not only because we're accepting only the purest ingredients, but also because when an ingredient is clinically proven to work so well, like ginkgo biloba, big pharmaceutical companies buy up all the supplies of this plant and pretend it's for research purposes. They offer such a high price for it that it's creating an artificial shortage. Only a few farms grow ginkgo biloba female trees. Even fewer grow it without using chemicals, and most of them are filling their pockets right now thanks to pharma companies buying up all their crops. Now, you might find it in bottles in a health food store, but those supplies aren't pure, or they skimp on quality control, or make up for their lost profits from the high ingredient cost. Of course, we're committed to support you in every way that we can, so we're going to let you order a batch of 3 bottles or 6 bottles for a huge discount. Also get free shipping. Well, how does that sound? Well, just take a look below. Once you order, you'll be taken to a secure checkout page. Just fill in your payment details using a credit card, debit card, or even PayPal. Immediately after you fill in your information and confirm your order, your bottle of Sharpear will be shipped for free right to your doorstep. If you order the 3 bottles or the 6 bottles package, which we recommend as we estimate will run out of stocks anytime soon, just click below to select your package. Your order today is a one-time payment with no subscription and no hidden charges. All you need to keep in mind is that Sharpear can only be found on this page, and it is not available for purchase anywhere else. This is your only chance to grab this exclusive formula. Now, once again, Sharpear is selling fast, and once it will be sold out, it'll take us 3 to 6 months just to restock on the pure, rare ingredients and then produce another batch. In the meantime, we're getting threats from the hearing loss industry moguls, and risking your family's safety is not something that you can do for a long time. Make your choice below. If you're skeptical, I totally get you. You've tried a lot of methods, you've spent a lot of money, and nothing really worked. I'm so confident that Sharpear works that I'm going to give you our ironclad 60-day money-back guarantee. If you don't experience any dramatic improvement, or if you're not content for any reason whatsoever, we will issue a full refund, no questions asked. All you need to do is contact us within the first 60 days from your purchase. It doesn't matter if you've used up the entire bottle. We will still give you your money back. Now, this means you have 2 whole months to decide if Sharpear is right for you or not. No hidden fees, no subscriptions, just a safe and secure one-time simple purchase. Choose the package you want below. Listen, when you think about it, you really only have 2 choices ahead of you right now. Option 1, stop following this presentation and leave this page. Do nothing. Keep going the way you are now, feeling left out, wondering how you will manage if your hearing gets worse. Sick and tired of asking everyone around you to repeat themselves and fearing they'll eventually get tired of talking to you. Always trapped in a cycle of desperation, anxiety, and loneliness. That's exactly what those godless pharma giants want you to do. Option 2, risk nothing at all today. Grab Sharpear right now and you'll be surprised at how well it works and at how easy your life can be. So just click below to make your choice, enter your payment details on our secure order form, and place the order right now. We'll immediately ship your bottles directly to your home. And every order comes with free shipping, no matter where you live. I can't wait for you to experience every single benefit that Sharpear has to offer. Still here? Great! I wanted to take a second and answer the most common questions I get about Sharpear. I just want to make sure that you feel 100% comfortable with your decision to order today. Number 1, how do I know Sharpear will work for me? Good question. Many scientists believe that hearing loss happens when hair cells, those little ear receptors that grab noises, start dying. However, breakthrough discoveries have revealed that ear hair cells have a previously unknown root extension that allows them to process sounds and communicate with the brain. At the same time, experts have uncovered a new type of brain cell responsible for receiving this sound. Well, this could mean that our ear hair cells don't really die. Instead, they lose the connection to the brain. By addressing the root cause of hearing loss, Sharpear empowers and strengthens the link between hair cells' roots and brain cells. Remember, all the ingredients address both the sender and the receiver of the sound and are backed by hundreds of clinical studies. They combine powerful, pure plants with modern medicine and technology, and they've helped hundreds of thousands of people around the world already. My wife and I have personally seen how much they can help even after years of hearing problems. Question number 2, is Sharpear safe? Well, Sharpear has been designed for all ages and medical conditions in order to naturally support your auditory system. Sharpear has high-quality natural ingredients manufactured in an FDA-approved facility under sterile, strict, and precise standards. Each of the ingredients that goes into Sharpear is tested for purity and to ensure against toxins and contaminants. As always, if you currently have a medical condition or you're taking other prescription medication, we advise you to show a bottle of this supplement to your doctor before you take it, just to, put your mind at ease. Question number 3, can you tell me about the guarantee again? Well, of course. The more results we see, the stronger we believe Sharpear has the power to completely regenerate and reconnect hair cells and brain cells. It's true, though, that nothing works for 100% of the people who try it, as each body works in its own way. And that's why every bottle of Sharpear comes with an ironclad 60-day money-back guarantee. If for any reason you aren't fully satisfied with the results, you can just return what you haven't used for a full, no questions asked refund. Question number 4, how long will this supplement be available to the public? Whew, good question. Well, I'm not really sure, but history has shown us that the hearing loss industry is not afraid to spend millions of dollars in legal fees to remove something that threatens its very existence. And if you think about it, that kind of makes sense. Wouldn't you spend $1 million in lawyer costs to protect the $8 billion per year that you make? Question number 5, how many bottles should I order? Well, we recommend ordering the largest amount so you can stock up. Remember, when an ingredient is clinically proven to work, like ginkgo biloba or St. John's wort, pharma usually buys up all the supplies to protect their sales. Moreover, Sharpear is selling very fast. It can take up to 6 months for us to get the rare ingredients to resupply. Ordering the largest amount is also the best deal for you. We've set it up so you can save more than 30% over the one bottle option. Plus, our no questions asked money back guarantee is valid no matter how many bottles you order, so there's no risk in stocking up. So all you have to do today is click below, fill in your payment details on our secure order form, and submit your order. I just can't wait to hear your success story.